Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Hart. Welcome to the show. We're doing a series now called Caring for Seniors, and it's a community outreach series. It's all about nursing home and home care planning through the MLTC's Managed Long-Term Care Insurance Plans. This is a topic that's coming up in the senior community a lot. A lot of us have parents who are going through changes with the nursing homes and the different rules and regulations. It can seem very onerous at times. So this panel has been invited to participate in the show to help us understand what's involved from the social, financial, and all the other issues that will come up on the topic. So for those of us who are caregivers, this is really important and we need to understand it. Many of us have gone through these situations, and some of the panel members will share what it's like to have a parent, for instance, that's in need of some of these services, and we need to know how to navigate the process. And so the panel members here will be able to teach us about that. Our panelists' goal is to prepare, equip, and inform our communities. So I've invited, as a co-host on the show, Ellie Goldbaum. He's president of FHS Consultants. He's an MLTC enrollment, eligibility, and Medicaid collection expert. His company actually created and built software that MLTCs use to run their systems to better serve the community. So if he's serving the MLTCs, they can better serve the viewers. He understands more than anyone the financial aspects regarding transitioning of nursing home benefit and populations into managed care. And so at this time, I'm going to welcome Ellie to the show. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Angela, for having us on the show. It's a very important topic, Angela. We're professionals who deal in the community, and we actually deal with people like yourselves on a daily basis, people that have their parents, like you said, they are going through this challenging time. There are different aspects that we deal with specifically to help people apply for Medicaid and become eligible for Medicaid, to keep that eligibility going by recertifications on a yearly basis. A lot of people in the community are not really familiar with the different nuances of the Medicaid to keep it active and to deal with the surplus issues, or the NAMI issues as they're called in the nursing home, which is the monthly income that we deal with and really assist people. There are a lot of pieces of information that people hear all the time, pooled income trusts, people are going to nursing homes. There's a lot of changes that are happening over the years, and we've been really at the forefront, Angela, in helping people in the community deal with their issues and getting ultimately the care that their loved one needs.
Excellent. This is going to be very informative, viewers. You're going to learn so much in this series, and so I'm glad that you're with us. And would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers as well?
Thank you, Angela, for inviting us. My name is Neldy Martinez, and I am the AVP of Intake and Outreach for ElderServe Health, now River Spring at Home.
Thank you. And next I'm going to go with this lady here.
Hi, my name is Joyce Little. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm the Director of Care Management at AgeWell New York.
And you?
Hi, I'm Panina Mezzi with the AmeriCare Companies, and thank you very much, Angela and Ellie, for having us here today. We're very excited to be here and eager to talk about this because it's a topic that's really near and dear to our hearts, servicing the seniors and making sure that people are getting the help that they need in the community.
Okay, so what are managed long-term care plans, MLTCs as we call them by the acronym? Who would like to address that to start? Would you?
Okay. So if you need community-based long-term care services, you first need to be evaluated by a registered nurse from New York State, conflict-free enrollment and evaluation center. Once the nurse goes to your home and they determine that you are eligible to receive community-based long-term care services, you will then be recommended to join a MLTC program. There are many MLTC programs throughout New York State. Of course, seniors, older adults have choices, and you will be given a list of many different MLTCs throughout the state that you can inquire within.
Thank you. Will you tell them, if it's something that you're familiar with, the difference between community Medicaid and long-term Medicaid?
For sure. I think, though, community Medicaid and long-term Medicaid, Ellie is the expert, and we should probably ask Ellie to speak a little bit out.
I think to help the viewers really understand what an MLTC is and how you get eligible for an MLTC, I think it's important to realize that an MLTC is a Medicaid approved service. You must have and be eligible for Medicaid. People get a little confused when you deal with Medicaid, specifically because there is something called community Medicaid and there's nursing home Medicaid. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there in the community as far as 5-year look-back periods and other issues like that. And I spoke before about the surplus, which is a monthly income that a person is entitled to have. And we hear constantly people discuss the idea that, oh, I'm not eligible for Medicaid, when indeed a lot of people could get eligible for Medicaid, and the MLTCs have a responsibility to actually assist people in the community, if they are eligible for Medicaid, with applying for Medicaid. So that's the first thing that I think is important, Angela, to understand, that this is a service that is a Medicaid service.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people that access home care services primarily, nursing home services, there's adult daycare services, there are a number of services that the MLTC does pay for, and they are reimbursed by the state to provide those services. And I think some of the MLTCs on the panel could embellish on those type of services that they offer. The importance of keeping your Medicaid eligible to deal with, to be able to constantly receive the services that the person or the loved one requires, whether, like I said, in the community or in the nursing home. That is the type of services that an MLTC provides.
Thank you. And I bet you, Ms. Neldy, would be able to say, when you work with families, tell us just how does it work as far as you're an intake person and outreach. What do you actually do in your job?
Very important to remind the patients is that when you go into a home, you're going into a home, it's to look at the entire picture. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the problems is that we have seniors that are living at home. We also have daughters and grandchildren, and it's an entire group of family together. So how can we go in there and help these families? So the first thing as intakes, we go in, we look, we're monitoring the entire situation to make sure that we'll be able to provide the services needed. And a good thing is that when we go in there, we cater exactly to the needs of that patient and that family. With the aid service, we ask important questions like what time does the daughter come back home? Mm-hmm. And the aide will be there providing the service. We have to be conscious that, the daughter's been working the entire day, so you don't want the daughter to walk in and the aide to walk out. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that that daughter gets at least an hour of rest to do what she has to do, and that patient is comfortable. Mm-hmm. The families feel very assured and trusting when they have an agency in the home that is providing the care. You have peace of mind. You can call them at any time. They're there. The aide, very important, because the aide is our eyes. They call us. They let us know. We work together, the agencies. And the important thing is to make sure that that aide will call us. She's oriented to any changes in the family dynamics, with the patient, the health care, just to be able to provide those services that's going to stabilize the case.
Oh, this sounds very important. It sounds like you really get involved on a one-on-one with the family.
Absolutely. It's all about not looking at an MLTC as an insurance, but looking at an MLTC as a part of a family.
So I'm getting the impression, viewers, because this is new for me as well, as to many of you, that Medicaid realized that there were some social and emotional and other issues that were not being dealt with well enough. And so they got involved with these MLTCs mm-hmm. that took over the care and coordinating of the patient's well-being, basically. Do I have that right?
Absolutely.
Right, and you do need, just to build on what Nellie said, you do need to have a demonstrated functional or clinical need. I just want to say to join a managed long-term care program. When you join an MLTC, you are assigned a personal care manager. that helps to collaborate and coordinate all their community-based support services and advocate for that member. So this care manager helps to develop, I just want to also say, helps to develop what's called a patient-centered service plan. Very important that people know that they have choices, that it's their care plan, it's their lives, it's their care that they're directing. They are culturally sensitive to people.
Good idea.
We have a lot of different cultures that are in the MLTCs, a lot of faiths. We try to assign a care manager that speaks that person's language to that person. So that care manager drives the bus truthfully with that person, and then reaches out to all the supportive healthcare services to start building those services for that person to keep them in place in the community. The goal of MLTC is to keep people living in their own home in the community for as long as possible with supportive healthcare services. If we've done that as an MLTC, we've done a very, very good job. And also supporting the caregivers, as Nellie said. People need respites, and knowing that there's somebody there taking care of their loved ones while they're at work, and offering those hours of service is certainly peace of mind to all the
I can
families.
just say,
Sounds
what
great.
Neldy was saying before and what Joyce was saying before, in terms of once a patient actually gets the MLTC and has the MLTC, the next step is who is going to be that provider? How and who are they going to choose to actually come into the home to help the person to get the aid, the care that they need? And there are two basic ways. Once a person is enrolled and have gone through the eligibility criteria and have determined that they are eligible for MLTC, for a person to be able to then get the aid service. There are two types of aid services available. One is a traditional home health aid. The home health aid is a program that's been around for many years, and that's where an agency, the MLTCs, contract with vendor agencies, the LICSAs, they're called licensed agencies, and they have a pool of people that they screen, that they really take responsibility for to make sure that the people coming into your home are up to level, have criminal background checks, they're decent people, they really care, they've had the training that they need, they've had the screening processes and the training, and they provide ongoing supportive services and supportive training and training on all different types of topics to really help the aides and to be able to deal with the patients. The second type of program, which people access the actual aid, the girl to come into the patient's home, and this is quite interesting because it's becoming more and more popular, and that's called the CDPAP program, Consumer Directed Personal Assistance Program. The CDPAP program is really a fantastic concept, and I have to tell you, I actually utilized that service myself for my grandmother. She should rest in peace. And what that service does is it allows the person, either the patient or the patient's caregiver, to choose who they want to provide the service to, the aid service to their loved one or to themselves. It really gives the power and the control of hiring, selecting, training, and doing all of the functions that normally an agency would do to the patient. So really it empowers the patient and the family or their caregiver to pick the aid, to choose the person they want coming into their home. Now, when someone comes into your home, it could be very invasive. All of a sudden you've been living alone, you've been living with your husband, or you've been living with whoever, your children, whoever you've been living with, and all of a sudden, you fall, you're sick, you need help. And that could be very scary and very overwhelming.
Yes.
And especially to invite a stranger into your home to come in, not everybody's always comfortable with that. The CDPAP programs allows you to choose someone that you know, a relative, a friend, an old cleaning lady, someone that you have familiarity with, to come into your home to really be able to help you out.
And so how does someone access that program?
Okay, so first the person has to be eligible and has to be enrolled into an MLTC.
Okay.
Then, and like Ellie was talking about before, they have to have Medicaid as part of that criteria. Once they're involved in an MLTC, all they do, once they're getting enrolled in an MLTC, at that point, they just have to let their intake person, their intake rep, know that they would like to have the CDPAP program.
So usually on an enrollment into the MLTCs, there is an CDPAP eligibility assessment is done, usually at the time of enrollment with the MLTC. If somebody, as the nurse is explaining that program to the potential member, and if they're in agreement, they fill out that eligibility assessment, which gets sent back to the MLTC, and then follow-up is done from there to try to put that person in place before the person even comes on, the program starts.
That
So-
sounds like a good system.
I just wanted to add on the CD Pass program, one of the very best things that I find is that a lot of the times you have family members that work all the time, and they have their patients that require medications, either insulin or pills, something. And when you have a CD Pass program, you can teach the aide, that person that you chose, you can teach them how to do that. And they do that. And it's so simple because a regular PCW or an aide cannot do that. But a CD Pass aide can do that. They can do anything from medications, blood testing for the glucose, administration
nursing.
of
Skilled nursing.
insulin. So that is such a great point when it comes to the consumer director.
If I can just add one thing, and also to what she's saying, there are two different points of entry for this CDPAP program. Someone can either, when they're enrolled and when they're first going on to an MLTC, they can choose it, or when someone first joins an MLTC, they can go with the traditional home care agency. They can go with the traditional licensed ELIXA, traditional licensed certified home care agency, and then midway say, you know what, I found someone, or I have a son that just came home, or there's someone that I would like instead of the home attendant that you've been giving me. Or they may be very happy, and the new home attendant that comes from the agency can become like a family member. Many, many times in my experiences, I've found that, where there really is no one to care for a person, and it's so heartwarming because there are some aides out there, and I have to tell you, they are just incredible people. And, you know, they really just make such a difference in a person's life. I can speak from personal experience. I have a very close neighbor who's very close to our family. And there was one aide in particular, and she went through many, many aides until she actually, through an agency, she went through many different aides. And until she actually found that one that was just so loving and so caring. And I'll never forget the way she really treated her. And once I commented to her and I said, you know, you're such a wonderful person. It's so nice to see you that way. And she said to me, I treat her like she's my grandmother because that's how I feel about her. And she, you know, and it was just such a beautiful mutual relationship. And sometimes when children live out of town or when there isn't, that's what happens. Aides become part of a family. We should also just, I think, be clear in terms of who's allowed and who's able to be a CDPAP
Yeah,
aide.
yeah.
And it's any adult that's not legally responsible for the patient, which means that a son, a daughter-in-law, a son-in-law, a sibling, a nephew, a niece, an uncle, like I said before, you know, a cleaning lady, a neighbor, anybody, that any adult that's not legally responsible, which would exclude just a spouse.
That's what it sounds like.
Right.
Just a sec. At this point, just a-
Is it okay if they're living in the home with the member, or must they be someone who lives out of the home?
Generally, they need to not be living in the home. Generally, they are definitely on a case-by-case basis. We have looked at different situations like that, but for the most part, they do not live in the home. The CDPAP person does not live in the home.
Do they get
But
paid?
we do look
the
at-
CDPAP person, do
Yes.
they get
Yes.
paid?
So
How does
that's
that
where
work?
the agency comes in. Because what the agency's responsibility is, it's a fiscal intermediary. The agency gets the money from the MLTC and is responsible for all of the payroll issues to make sure that to make sure that the aide is getting the check and is getting the money and is getting all their benefits and whatever else they're entitled to. So that's just really, and it also empowers very much the patient, because the patient or the caregiver is then the employer. They become responsible. So it's a very, you know, especially when people are aging and they're feeling like they're losing control of everything and they're getting a little bit sicker and weaker and they feel like they're losing, they're really, at least they have the control to still be the employer and to be responsible for
Yes,
the aid. So
yes.
that's actually a very nice benefit of the CDPAP program as well.
And a lot of times, the people that are taking care of that person is a cousin or a sister and aunt. and they're doing it regularly, but they're
Right.
not getting paid.
Right, this is
But
what I'm
with
loving
the
about this.
consumer-directed program, it's great, because you will be taking care of a family member, where the family, the patient will feel great, and at the same time, the family member will be getting paid for something they're already doing.
Basically, what you're saying is they're doing the work anyway,
Right.
you might as well get
So you
paid.
might as well
Right.
get paid for
Because
it.
some
Yes.
some people, again, to keep the people home in the community, if they have a job
Absolutely.
and they need to go to work, instead of doing that job wherever they're working, they would leave that, and this would be their job, getting paid so that they can be taking care of their loved one.
So is this something that most of the community is aware of, that they can have someone that they know who's take care and get paid? Is this something they know, or do we need to let the community really hear this?
It's really interesting because I think this program has actually been around since the 70s, the
No.
late 70s, yes. This program has been around since the late 70s. It became a lot more popular just in the last 2 or 3 years. And I think part of the reason that also has become more popular is because the need is there. Because there are people that sometimes also, when people live in remote areas or areas that it's difficult to get public transportation to, and there's really no one and there's no agency that can get there, sometimes the best answer is a neighbor that lives across the street, that you just have the neighbor come in and let them provide the services that are needed.
This
So-
is wonderful.
The MLTC really is responsible for the care of that patient. Ultimately, the safety and everything of the patient is under the control of the MLTC, and they make sure, and they're really responsible to make sure that that person gets the care that they require. If something, God forbid, would happen to the patient, they're responsible for that. So, in a sense, the MLTC is looking at many different components, whether it's using part of the social day, as mentioned before, for several hours of the day, complementing with services in the home, whether it's X amount of hours of a aide coming into the home, or unfortunately, sometimes people do get sick, or certainly with the population we're dealing with, and they end up going into a nursing home. These are all services that are covered under the MLTC umbrella.
So now I'm going to speak as a viewer might have a question. Do you run into problems where maybe an aide is not a satisfactory aide, and what can the member or their loved one do about this? Because I'll tell you that my mother-in-law had an aide come in for a while, and this gentleman was not acceptable for a lot of reasons, and she was afraid to complain. She kept doing this. Oh no, don't worry. No, don't. And I said, well, we knew that it was an issue. And so, what can a family do if they're not comfortable with the aide and they don't want the aide to know they complained because they're afraid?
They can speak with the care manager, the nurse that comes in. Usually when a patient starts with a new aide, we always tell them, wait at least a week to see how it goes. But the most important thing to remember is that the aide is a guest in a patient's home, and the patient cannot lose control of that. So if you don't feel comfortable with an aide, you call whoever. You could call your social worker, which we have a part of as the MLTC. Call your nurse, call your nurse care manager, anyone you have to do that, and let them know. I mean, I had an experience where every time I went to see the patient, the little lady would go, very nervous and very upset, and that bothered me. So I made a visit, an unexpected visit, on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m, and the aide was not there. This was a 24-hour living.
Oh.
Aide was not there, and I got the super to let me in. I found the patient in not good states. We waited. Needless to say, that aide never worked again.
So every now and again, we have these issues because people are human and the workforce
Absolutely.
is fallible. But it's good to know that we have people who are interceding on our behalf, who are working for the MLTCs. And that's what's important, is that you're getting to know the face of the MLTCs in our community. And that's why I'm glad this panel is here.
I work for an agency that's responsible for those aides, and what we'll do is we'll specifically have patient relation department calling our members and calling the caregivers and just really checking up and making sure that those aides are doing what they're supposed to do. And we try to do it in a way, like we had discussed before, culturally sensitive, language appropriate,
Yes.
to really make sure that the patient is okay. Because like Neldy was saying before, they're a guest in the home, and we really do have to make sure that the patients are safe.
Excellent.
I was going to
Yes.
say exactly what Panina said, which is, if someone, very often we have this, people call us up, they're not happy with the aid or whatnot, we'll intercede by having them call the licensed agency, and that is the agency who's actually providing the aid, paying for the aid to go out there. So it's good to call the MLTC and let them know, because ultimately the responsibility is with the MLTC, but for practical purposes, the aid is being hired and employed by
And
the
supervised.
licensed and supervised, as Benita said, from the licensed agencies. So they're really responsible, and very often they could work with the family. I think a
And you do
family-
send nurses out every 3 months to supervise those?
Yes, of course.
So there is supervisions of those aides every 3 months that go out into the field and see those aides that are in the field, and making sure that they're doing the plan of care that was developed by the member
Excellent.
and the family.
Excuse me, Ellie, so you said that you get involved with the care. How does your company get involved with that?
So very often, one of the things that we do is we help people in the community get eligible for Medicaid. Sometimes there are certain issues with the Medicaid. So part of the process of the eligibility is to get them eligible, get them on Medicaid, but at the same time, they have a need. And that need is to navigate the system to get them the care that they require. There are different levels of care till you get onto an MLTC. So we'll work with them through what's called a certified home health agency to get a temporary person in the home until you get, like Joyce said before, through the assessment process. It typically takes several months to actually get onto the MLTC, to apply to the MLTC and actually have an MLTC chosen for your particular case. So we navigate the system, and I can tell you most of the people that come into our office, they're really lost. Something all of a sudden happened to their loved one in in many cases, where all of a sudden the mom took a slip, fall, whatever the case may be, a stroke, God knows what. And now they're thrown into this world of MLTC or CHA or nursing home. They don't even know where they're going. So we really hold their hands through.
Excellent. There's so much more to talk about. We have about 2 minutes left. Did anyone want to share some closing thoughts? We will be holding future shows. We're holding a series about caring for seniors, and especially with respect to the managed long-term care agency. So would you like to close with some thoughts that you'd like to address?
Again, I keep telling everybody, we're not in insurance. We are somebody that gets involved with the families, with the patients, with everyone. Anybody involved with this family, we're there.
We're going to be meeting again, and we look forward to seeing you viewers. Thank you for watching. And we can be viewed on Staten Island Tuesday evenings at 8 o'clock on Channel 34. We also air in Manhattan and Brooklyn. Thanks for watching, and see you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.